Hey everyone, Ivy League Gaming here, and today we're playing Dragonheir Silent Gods. For today's video, I'm going to do a little bit of a damage comparison for Zhorak specifically. What works better, the Harpies now or the Vile Ink? So this video was recorded a couple weeks ago. It is a bit old as far as what's going on if you're on the main live day one, I guess, servers. So this was when the Vortex had the derivative damage buff. So I thought that was the perfect time to test like what's going to really enhance his derivative damage. So in the end, I decided to just do a few tests with all things the same except for swapping out the artifact. And then at the very end with the Harpies now, because he now can crit, I actually swap out for a crit rate glove. But everything else stayed the same. So I'm going to go through and play this video, and I'm going to kind of narrate what I was doing along the way, quickly showing the damage comparisons. So I did 2 runs for each test, so that way it was kind of consistent. At least it was a little bit more, you know, you could see that the times were consistent, the damage was consistent over 2 runs, so there wasn't a ton of RNG. Of course, I could have run a lot more, but given the fact it was so close, it was obvious I didn't need to. So I just thought it'd be fun to start doing some of these kind of comparisons with artifacts, which one is better, how much better are certain artifacts on certain characters. And yeah, I hope you enjoy this sort of content. I'm gonna let that roll. All right, so this was the first test. We got 42.7 million. You can see he did 10.3 damage himself, and we lasted 6 minutes and 28 seconds. Now, he was in the Vile Ink, which is obviously a boost to the derivative damage, but he cannot crit. So that's his set. He's an Inventor. You can see his stats there. As far as the whole team goes, this is a quick glimpse at the team, so you can see we're running typical Ice Blast team, Sheena and Witch's Remains, survivability thanks to Garius and the Gatekeeper staff, and then Acilia to cleanse the debuffs or prevent them, and heal, of course. And there's our timings in case you want to know. I do have the DPS set to consistently go in order, so that way Zhorak can put up his buff, Sheena can do the Witch's Remains defense penalty, and then Garthen can go after that. So that's kind of what I had better experience with personally, is actually timing out the DPS, at least at this time. So I'm just going to show the beginning of the battle for each one. We're going to show like the first minute of battle and then the very end. So I do believe this is the derivative damage, but I could be wrong. This could actually be the one where it was just necrotic damages increased, so there was no buff at all things were pretty equal. But even if it was, either way, whether if it was the derivative damage or not, I would expect the Vile Ink to do better actually than Harpies now. So we're doing this in consideration of Zhorak's passive. So you can take a look at that and see what I mean and see why we're comparing the Harpies now to the Vile Ink. So this is the start. You can see the rotation. We always have Garius, boom, protect people right before the boss does their ultimate. My timings have since changed and my team has completely changed since this run, which was actually, yeah, on the 20th of January, to be clear. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna skip to the end of the battle. And there it is. So we're at 14 plus time left. And boom, that one we're okay with. But our next wipe is going to cause Zhorak to die. So he dies first at the exact same time, I think every time. That was like 14 minutes and 3 seconds. The rest of the team does try to hold on a bit. So he is the first to die, then Sheena, boom, then Garius. So not too fast after. As long as the tank and everyone else is dying close to it, I'm not too concerned. But I usually try to balance out the build so that way not one DPS is dying before everybody else. So it's kind of, you know, they're all synergistic. They need each other. All right, so this is run number 2 technically. Same time. Look at 42.3. The other was 42.4. 6 minutes and 28 seconds was the time, and 10.2 million damage for Zhorak. All right, now we're going to go ahead and change out that artifact. So let's adjust, and we're going to switch to the Harpy's Nail, but we're not going to change anything else. We're only going to switch to Harpy's Nail. So this is just a 20% passive damage bonus instead. All right, so you could see that passive is what it's all about. Derivative cold damage with a chance of gaining ice crystal. He also gives his passive to the allies thanks to his ultimate. So that's an interesting part of this kit as well. So we're going to go in again. Same thing. Let's run the beginning of the battle. In case you guys want to try to see some of these numbers from him specifically, I think it's kind of hard to do so. Even if we paused and went really slowly, you'd really have to analyze which number is actually his basic kit or his battle skill. It's a bit hard to see sometimes, but I figured I would at least show the starts of the battle so you can see how the team kind of flows and gets into sync. So boom. So Acilia's gonna go. She's gonna tick all her 5 seconds of heals. And then her last tick and is gonna go boom. And then everyone is as fully healed as possible for Garius to do his heal, which means excess shield thanks to Gatekeeper. Keep in mind, guys, if you've been seeing all these Ice Blast teams with Garius and everything, he's not ideal for Vortex without the Gatekeeper staff. He just heals and nothing else. That's it. Not good enough. You need more than that. All right, we're going to go ahead and skip ahead in the battle again to like 14 plus minutes left. Boom, boom. Okay again. Okay on that hit. And then here we go, the same exact spot with this AoE. Zhorak is going to die at exactly 14 minutes and 3 seconds. So very consistent testing, which is perfect for something like this. So same thing, then Sheena probably dies next. Yep, there she goes. Then Garius dies now. Yep, very consistent. Very, very consistent compared to the last run with just a different artifact on Zhorak. So we're going to wipe in a moment here. Bye, people. And 43 million.2. We have like a whole million more almost. So let's take a look. And Zhorak, 10.9 million just from Zhorak. Way more than Sheena, guys, by the way. And yeah, again, 6 minutes and 28 seconds survived. So we're going to go ahead and run the same battle. And then we're going to skip to the end and just show the damage because there's no reason to show the exact same battle again. 43.5 million, even better. And again, I think Zhorak did the same, 10.9 million damage. So he's not a slouch. People like to hate on Zhorak for not being able to do damage, but he can hang. It's all about enabling Garthen or Beldel in this type of team, though. They're not the ones who should be the star of the show. All right, so because we now are wearing the Harpy's Nail and we took off that inability to crit, just for shits and giggles, let's switch this to a crit rate glove. Ideally, something at least like this with a little bit of attack, that one, or something with enlightenment. So this one has potential. We did not roll enlightenment, of course, go figure. So I think we just throw on the one with an attack roll at least. Boom, it adds 40% at crit rate. We do lose a lot of attack, of course. But that kind of gets you at least maybe the option of critting being a little bit better for his personal damage. And that's what I was curious about. Like, not a dramatic change, but maybe enough to make it worth it by adding some crit rate there as well. But then it does take away from his effects where he scales off of attack and enlightenment specifically. Although, of course, critting You can crit with attack and enlightenment. What am I saying? It does not take away from anything. What am I saying? No, you can crit. But it took away from his total attack. Ideally, you'd want to keep that attack pretty solid while still adding crit with other substats would be the goal. But I figured this was a simple test just to see if a little more crit rate and a little less attack was worth the trade-off. All right, so this is our first moments of battle. Same thing. Same rotation. We're going to come up to our first 1 minute played. And you're going to see the reason I like to do that, I don't really need to cycle this team probably, but because Sheena hits so much, I like to really have Zhorak go before her. Because, you know, he can put up the attack buff before Sheena goes and does all of her attacks and places a defense penalty. And then Garrothin can do her ultimate. But in this team, you can get away with no timings on the DPS sometimes better because it's more about their battle skill than it is their ultimate. But alright, going through the same motions here. But we actually lasted a tiny bit longer for this battle, ironically. It was 13 minutes and 40-something seconds left, and then people wiped. So, ironically, we lasted a tiny bit longer for Zhorak, but does that matter? Does he actually do more damage while lasting a little bit longer? So, oh no, it was still 6 minutes and 28 seconds, but he lasted longer. So he should do more damage. 43.6 million is a little bit better, but he actually did less damage, 10.8 million instead of 10.9 with the other two. Even though he lasted longer himself, he didn't actually do more damage. So I don't think that trade-off with an attack percentage glove versus a crit rate glove, losing that much attack is worth it unless you can get crit elsewhere in the kit. It might be worth trying if it's just a bonus, but not a priority. So I'm going to quickly show you guys what else I got going on here. At this time, we did have 3 into both bonuses of maxed out Ice and Radiant Synergy here. Of course, for the accuracy as well, and the overall for 5 and 6 bonuses. So all the Ice bonuses that we could have, we did. We had Sheena in the team here. I'm just going to quickly show their stats in case you want to see. She was in a Cyril set because she's placing a debuff with that defense penalty. You do need accuracy for that. He was an Adventure set, but we are going to go back to that attack glove because it just wasn't good enough overall to seem like the trade-off was worth it. We had Cilia is our healer and cleanser. She was in Mona Lisa set and the horn for the attack boost. She's, of course, our main DPS, and Garius as support and ancestral protection. But that's the team. But I'm really happy overall to see Zhorak be able to hang. He is solid in an Ice Blast comp. Don't let people fool you. But yeah, Harpy's now wins.